miss out many direct opportunities, chances, skills, and potential friendships.
Think how cool it would be to have friends from every part of the world.
And we will be working with the American University of Technology in Lebanon through our virtual meetings to allow you not only to meet new people from different nationalities, but people living in different environments.
That's between you. I think that like a little bit more brief to share. It's not of interest together.
If you find any difficulties in communicating or accepting those differences,
You will also have workshops where you will be able to build your empathy and also find any possible biases you might have and eliminate them.
We will have both virtual and face-to-face meetings where students will get to discuss topics that help them find a common ground. Also, they'll be doing activities that help enhance their understanding of the importance of tolerance and the beauty of diversity. So, what are you waiting for?
as we saw in the video, our target audience is mostly university students. And personally, adapt to my community, I'm focusing at the university students of Iraq. We've interviewed 53 students from 22 different majors and 20 different nationalities about how much they would rate themselves about their empathy. And the majority chose and rated themselves more than 5 out of 10, which shows that they think that they're quite empathetic. However, when we asked them if they'd like to build their empathetic skills, they said that yes, they were. So this shows that they're not quite certain if they're actually empathetic or not, or maybe they don't really know the definition of empathy. And that's why we decided to have the effective empathetic club. That's because our aim is to increase student empathy and eliminate any biases. This will help them be more mixed in different groups and be more diverse and work in a healthy environment. This will help them be more open to outgroups and not limited for preparing certain people in their in groups. So all these big words might not be very clear to our students. So we have to define what empathy is. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. And if a group leader has that, and the group members, when they have that, they will work effectively because they'll be able to listen to one another and collaborate effectively. A bias is a preference for one thing, person, or idea over the other. And so there are many reasons to propose biases and many types of biases. So we will raise awareness about those to identify the problem in order to solve them and help students increase their empathetic skills. A preference is a graded like for one thing, person, or idea over the other. And that's why it's also a part of the definition of bias. So how are we going to increase their empathetic skills and reduce their biases? There are 2 ways we're planning: the virtual meetings and the physical meetings. The virtual meetings will be linking the AURAC and the AUT groups of students together, and this will allow them to meet each other. And the physical meeting will have many different activities that the students can perform that require specific skills that only maybe certain nationalities can have. For example, we can take a group of Nigerians and give them a task that might require very hard Arabic direction. And then we change the groups and include more Arabs, and then the Arabs can help them in that aspect, and the Nigerians would be good in the other aspect. And then this way they can see that they can see each other, and this will help them visualize the beauty of empathy and diversity, and how empathy is very important for the harmony of diversity. Because without empathy, there would be no harmony in diversity. And in such a diverse environment, I live here in the UAE, I think it's very, very important to have such a club and for everyone to know about empathy, for them to be able to collaborate effectively in such a diverse environment. Thank you.
So this project, like many others, were made by the students who are living, each one in a country. Now, empathy is fortunately, it's something that we can learn. It's a learnable skill. But can it be taught online? Yes, it can. This is what happened with us in 2 cycles. We already did it. But based on my experience, for the teaching to be effective, we have to humanize the process and to take it a step further than by merely transferring the program's content online. So it's not only about a transfer of knowledge, but about an experience of living, and interacting with each other. So this is here again, the human presence is really important, and the way how the person deals with, with the information he's getting. Now, for this, we have to conceive user-centric courses that build empathetic learners and express a genuine desire to listen to the students and to get to know them. We have to build self and peer reflection into the assignments. This is important because reflection transforms content into knowledge. This can be encouraged by using questions that guide students in carefully critiquing themselves and their colleagues. This will allow them to identify their strengths and to recognize the challenges that others might face. We have to plan projects that promote a sense of community, and this is the example, what we have just seen. We have to provide ample outlets for guided interpersonal communication among students and to design tasks using experiential learning techniques. And most importantly, we have to teach, if you want to teach empathy, we have to model empathy. I can hardly imagine, a teacher who is not empathetic trying to teach empathy to students. So the experience I have just described to you has made it possible to build bridges between people from different, communities, from different religions, from different, backgrounds. It is also no secret that during the pandemic, technology has made it possible to break the isolation of individuals. This is what we've seen, with Dr. Muhammad this morning. However, it is obvious that despite having democratized access to information and made it possible to break certain monopolies, for example, technology has created new inequalities, since not everyone has access to the same tools, first of all, nor to the internet or electricity, like we said. So although it has democratized things, sometimes it's also building barriers between people since they don't have all access to the same technology. I think I will wrap it up quickly. I'm late a little bit. So I don't like to position myself whether I am with or against, because the subject is not anymore, actual. We are all, it's here, it's something here. We can try to use it, for myself at least, to learn and grow, for my students, the people around me. I would promote this, to learn and grow. Social media is a creative outlet and an expression of freedom and exploration. It can allow people to define, different versions of themselves. It can allow us to question ourselves and to question the world. And if this is not growing and learning, what would be growing and learning? Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Douglas. Very, very interesting indeed on this notion of empathy, and I'll have also a question later. We move on to Mrs. Jessica Saba, who is going to talk about a learner agency. So Mrs. Saba, if I look at my notes, Mrs. Jessica Saba is a senior lecturer of English at the University of Balamand in Dubai, so we are sort of colleagues. Yeah. She teaches a variety of English service and major courses to undergraduates. And today then, to get the complete title, today she will be talking about learner agency and adult education in dynamic times.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you everyone for being here. It's a pleasure to give this presentation. You can't hear? Can you hear? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. So as you can see, my title today is Learner Agency and Adult Education in Dynamic Times. So today I'll be presenting a study which was conducted in a private university in Dubai, where I reside. So my agenda for today, I'll be focusing on the aims and objectives of my paper. I'll be discussing two very important terms in the world of education today, which are resilience and learner agency. I'll be talking about the importance of learner agency and the challenges in our dynamic times today. I'll also be discussing intercultural skills in the context of the pandemic and how to develop student agency through technology by using tools like Moodle, Microsoft Teams, and Google Documents. So my study, it had two aims. One of the aims was to explore the paper aims to explore three approaches that enhance student agency, which I will be defining in the next couple of slides, through delivering personalized and diverse learning experiences for our students. The second aim of the study was to focus on how Moodle, Microsoft Teams, and Google Docs were used to increase student agency as well. Resilience. So the term resilience, as I said before, both resilience and learner agency have gained much importance in today's world. Why? We raise our children to be resilient. We want to be resilient. As a Lebanese person, I want to be resilient. I have to be resilient. Why? Because I face many challenges. So this also applies to our students. Our students in today's world, they have to be resilient. They are facing more challenges than students before used to face. So resilience is determined to be a mitigating factor during the COVID-19 pandemic. And research on resilience has become as important as researching pedagogical tools to enhance education and technological aspects in education. Building relationships, maintaining optimism, and developing introspection are all contributing factors to building personal resilience. So our students need to build personal resilience by having relationships. So during COVID, our students were confined at home. They needed to be resilient. They had to build this resilience, but how? They needed relationships. They needed to remain optimistic. They needed to develop introspection. So resilience is a personal achievement, to be honest, in today's world. It's regarded as a personal achievement at the emotional, cognitive, and behavioral levels. What are the common attributes of resilient individuals? Some common attributes as found in the literature are flexibility. We need to be flexible as instructors. Our students need to be flexible. Adaptability. We need to learn how to adapt to new tools, to new pedagogies. Our students need to be also adaptable to new technologies. Collaboration. How can we as instructors and our students collaborate to make our sessions successful? How can our students collaborate with each other to have a successful learning outcome? Digital literacy. So in today's world, everyone needed to pick up in the new or the most recent advancements in technology, which wasn't really common before. So as an instructor before, like 10 years ago, I wasn't really familiar with Blackboard, with Moodle, Microsoft Teams. Neither were our students. So times changed. Digital literacy is something very important now. Quick thinking and pedagogical accuracy, which I will also discuss afterwards. So resilience as a definition, it's a process of adapting in the face of adversity, tragedy, trauma, or any source of stress, which I believe our students have picked up these past couple of years. Education around the world has changed. It's no longer what it used to be before. So it was disrupted because of COVID, because of the pandemic. And my study focuses on the Middle East, so I speak freely about the Middle East. We had to switch from a regular classroom setting to online learning, which I believe made everyone resilient as we had to keep up with the technological advancements. We had, as instructors, we had to learn and train ourselves and then teach our students. So technology was used in creating resilience among our students, and teachers tried to keep them motivated to achieve their goals. So I'm going to stop at the word motivated. So as instructors, we need to keep our students motivated. In today's world, with the COVID, with the pandemic, with students feeling depressed, not wanting to attend maybe online sessions, as instructors, we needed to think of ways to keep them motivated to attend our sessions, to keep them motivated to learn. So motivation, I think, also comes along with resilience, with learner agency. It comes along with all of these major terms in our education world today. Now I move on to learner agency, which is, in my opinion, or as my study shows, is intertwined and connected to resilience. What is learner agency? It refers to feeling of ownership and sense of control that students have over their own learning. So as an instructor, I believe that our methods of teaching have shifted. So before, when I first started teaching, our classes were very teacher-centered. So the teacher, all of the focus would be on the teacher. Now, especially with all the advancements, with all the pedagogical studies, with all of the research done, it has been proven that student-centered classrooms are the most successful. So with COVID and with the pandemic and with the use of technology, definitely student-centered classrooms are the way to make learning successful, teaching and learning successful. So our students need to feel that they own their lesson. They need to feel that they own the class. They need to feel that they own the environment they are in. So this is part of learner agency. They need to have, or they need to feel that they have power and to make choices, to make meaningful action and see the results in their decisions. So all of these terms, power, choices, meaningful action, decisions, these are terms that we should allow our students to have. Learner agency is about shifting the ownership of learning from teachers to students, enabling students to have the understanding, ability, and opportunity to be part of the learning design. So you may ask me, how? How do we allow our students to have power, to have a choice, to make a meaningful action? So in today's world, all of this can be done through technology. So with technology, the instructor is just a facilitator. Of course, lessons need to be explained, but after lessons are explained, we need to give our students the chance to have this ownership. So as instructors, we are using technology, or we should be using technology in order to give our students the power. And I will discuss how. What is the importance of learner agency? So I defined it, I discussed what it is. Why is it important? Students need to have a voice. So just like instructors need to have a voice, our students as well need to have a voice. It's not enough that instructors own the class. No, our students should also own the class. When students have agency, the relationship between the teacher and the students becomes a partnership. So it's no longer, the teachers are no longer the owners of the classroom. The relationship should be equal between teachers and students. Students with a strong sense of self-efficacy bring a stronger sense of agency to the learning community. So when students feel that they own their lesson, they own the classroom, they have power, this increases their motivation. This adds to their sense of agency. So this positively reflects on their results, on their grades, on their whole learning process. The learning community, as shown in my study, supports agency and fosters self-efficacy, especially these days with the pandemic. Challenges in dynamic times. So how has the pandemic affected learner agency? COVID, of course. So we have all been affected by COVID. It affected our mental health. It affected our physical health, probably. It affected everyone. So as instructors, we were affected by COVID because we felt, most of us maybe, or most of us who do not have a friendly relationship with technology, we felt that it affected our motivation. Not many of us were trained to use certain technological tools. So if this is the case with instructors, can we imagine how our students felt when the pandemic hit and we needed to deliver our classes online? So COVID, it affected our classroom etiquette. It affected our classrooms in a way that there were no longer inadequate interactions. And of course, internet issues for those living in, even in Dubai, where we have electricity all the time, sometimes glitches would happen. At many times, I couldn't hear my students, they couldn't hear me. So so COVID and everything that came with COVID affected learner agency. It affected our classrooms. It affected our ability to deliver a successful lesson. Adapting in the face of adversity, tragedy, trauma, or any source of stress can impact brain function and agency. So all of these challenges, they were the cause in affecting learner agency. However, our students, because they are resilient, and we ourselves as instructors, because we are resilient, we learned, we developed ourselves, our students learned as well. So maybe for our students, they were happier about the fact that using technology would become the norm. So teachers trained themselves, students were happy with technology, and we kind of like found a way to make our classrooms successful and to stand in the face of all the challenges that came with COVID. So because of technology, we were able to deliver our lessons. So as an English instructor, I was able to deliver all of my lessons. I was able to focus on my students. So of course, many things were different, but I was able to instruct. I was able to make sure that my students' writing improved, that they were still presenting, they were still speaking, they were still developing themselves. So thanks to technology, it still served as a catalyst in promoting achievement, despite the uncertainty and chaos, and played a major role in enhancing students' resilience. Technological, pedagogical component of classroom teaching and learning promoted solidarity, interconnectedness, compassion, and building collaboration. There are 3 intercultural principles, which I will speak about now, that empower students to adapt successfully and enhance their learner agency, which are flexibility, cooperation, and empathy, which Mrs. Rola touched upon right now. So flexibility, so this is something as instructors and students, we all learned flexibility, cooperation, and empathy. And we had to be flexible, we had to cooperate, and we had to be empathetic in order to deliver our lessons and in order to make learning outcomes achieved at the end of the session. Flexibility. So here I define these 3 major terms. What's flexibility? It's related to our ability to handle, change or manage differences in our goals. For example, I had to be flexible in many ways during online sessions. My students also had to be flexible. Many of them did not like to, for example, turn on the camera. I had to be flexible in many ways. Many of them did not like to be recorded. So we had to reach a common point where myself and my students were all flexible. Empathy, it's one's ability to recognize the feelings and perceptions of others. It was, I think, empathy is, I think, one of the most important terms that we all touched upon in COVID. We have to be empathetic to our students. They were passing through a very difficult time. COVID-19 disclosed our genuine purpose and taught us to recognize that people whose values have been overlooked. Cooperation, which is the most important term, we had to cooperate in order to achieve our goals. In order to develop student agency through technology, instructors need to give up control. They need to let their students decide. So we need to learn, or we need to know as instructors that our students are able or should be able to decide what they want to do next. Engage our students by asking for suggestions and feedback. So an instructor is not always right. We need to ask our students what they prefer, what they need. So our focus is on our students' needs. And we need to be a coach or act as a facilitator. So I'm going to wrap it up since there's no more time. Here I discuss Moodle, Microsoft Teams, and Google Docs. So this is part of my study. I looked at how Moodle, Microsoft Teams, and Google Documents helped in increasing students' resilience and agency. So with empathy, for example, on Moodle, I used to assign a forum, and students would post their work and they would reply to each other. So as an English instructor, of course, my goal is always that my students use correct grammar, correct sentence structure. But because I want them to connect to each other, and because I want to promote that empathy, I ask them not to focus on language structures, just to cooperate with each other, just to speak to each other, to make technology be, to connect them together. Collaboration and flexibility. So as you can see here, collaboration, feedback forums, collaborative text, video discussions, and flexibility. Sometimes, the mode of teaching would be synchronous or asynchronous. They would be assigned something to do on Moodle, for example, or I would be there on Microsoft Teams and asking them to do them with me, overlooking their work. So empathy, collaboration, and flexibility are all, they were all reached through Moodle, Teams, and Google Documents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Saba. This is very interesting because it really breaks down what allows for resilience to occur. And we move on to Ms. Rose Kondo. Ms. Rose Kondo is the coordinator of the lifelong learning program and English and tourism studies teacher at Dar al-Kalima University. She will talk to us about the effects of digital transformation in education in Palestinian adult education centers.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for everybody for attending this session. Today I'm going to talk about
You have to raise your voice.
okay. Today I'm going to share you the ongoing project that's been implemented last year at the centers, other education centers in Palestine, Gaza, and West Bank as well. So, as we know that learning environment at international context has been changed, and especially the use of digital media is undergoing considerable growth. So this provoked us the need of influence the adult education services in general worldwide. And also provoke or call for a great demand for the trainers, course trainers for the adult education centers, because they have a special paradigm to follow with the centers to adapt the digital techniques and digital trainings in their courses. When we talk about the centers, these centers are usually located in the rural areas. So since we are monitoring them and supporting them with trainings, the lifelong learning program at al-Kalima University and with the cooperation with the DVV International, these are German institutions that support adult education programs in general, implement two projects last year. The first one is about digitalizing the curriculum globale modules, and the second one is building up a platform that combines all these centers. I'm going to focus this project about the digitalizing the modules. I'm going to share you how we implement those modules at the centers. So the aim of the two projects is to link and to bridge between the digitalization module, the digitalized modules, with the other modules that they already have it at their centers, and to make them, to link them also to each other, the centers and the local wide and international context. Okay. So the aim of, as I mentioned, I'm going to focus on the one project, which is the major one, which is this digital curriculum. The aim of it is to offer framework for further training of other educators. So we are training the trainers at the centers how to deal with the participants who join the centers, and to improve their digital techniques and to add more, let's say, skills to them to make their training easier and faster as well. So, before talking about the digital module, I'm going to give you a brief information about the curriculum globale. When I say curriculum globale, it's a German word, which is a curriculum, a global curriculum for the adult learning education centers, which is an intercultural core curriculum for worldwide teaching. Okay, yes, yes, okay. Okay, teaching and learning, okay, for adults, and it is developed jointly by the German Institute for Adult Education and the Institute for International Cooperation for German Adult Education Association, the DVV International. When you talk about the German who are supported these centers, they focus on the adult education, which is focusing on the vocational streams, not just academic streams. And we are influenced by the BMW and the Mercedes organizations, because most of the workers are graduated from those centers. So they supported us with this module that include with this curriculum that include 5 modules. The first one focuses on the concepts. What are the main concepts related to adult learning or adult education? And the second module is focused on the theories, that is sharing experience and experiments that have been implemented since early times, but it doesn't have the concept, the term of adult education. And the father of this school is Paulo Freire. I don't know if you know him. He's a Brazilian philosopher. He's the father of this school. And then the third module focus on the third and fifth module focus on the techniques and the methodology that should be followed in these centers. And the fifth one, which is the most important, it's about how they have to implement those methodologies and education techniques in concrete life. So they have to build their program and their let's say planning for the training sessions. So in general, these all modules describe the relevant skills needed to lead a successful courses provided by guidance in their practical implementation. So the models is for the trainers. It's like TOT training. It's for the trainers who are going to work at those centers. When I talk about education centers, as I mentioned before, it's working with the rural people. They are not very well educated, and they focus on very limited work, such as farming, working in the factories, and they don't care about studying at university in general. So after the pandemic, COVID-19, we feel that there's a need to digitalize the curriculum, and through following certain steps. And the aim of it is to maintain the original curriculum, but by adding some digital tools that enable them to, that link them to other centers locally and global wide. So what is expected from this curriculum when they plan it, when they design it, is to know and understand the potential and the special features in using forms of digital and learning, and able to apply them in their own lessons. This is very important, and I'm going to show you how this is applicable, the output of the training, as well as educational work with adults. So the project has been implemented as the following. We, as the al-Kalima, we sponsored 8 centers in Palestine, 5 in West Bank and 3 in Gaza. So the project was implemented as the following. It was the curriculum was divided. It's categorized into 4 modules and distributed into 6 sessions. The first 2 were online, were physical sessions, and then the rest were online. And the centers are located in different regions in Palestine. The 2 in Jenin, we have 2 centers in Jenin, which is an agricultural area, and the second one in the other two in Hebron and one in Jerusalem. While in Gaza, they have separate training, but the online, we have shared courses. And the trainer were experts from al-Kalima University, who are experts in IT and digitalization, who train the trainers at those centers how to adapt the digital curriculum and match it with their programs. So how we implement it, as I mentioned, they are implemented into 4 modules. The first one focus on face-to-face, it was face-to-face training, focusing on the basic concepts of digitalization. We focus on bring your own device. We try to make trainers attach their mobiles to their devices. We talk about rural area, their devices are not very well developed. So the first thing is that we learn them, our experts teach them how to use their mobile properly. And then later on, the second session is we start using tools, which is about webinar. Why webinar? Because it's very important to reflect their own work through using certain applications such as Zoom and Google Form. These are the simplest ones. The third module focusing on instructional films. By the way, these are the first training. The first picture is the training in Gaza. It was held in UCAS University, and the second one in al-Kalima University. Okay, so these are the training that were held online. The focus on the instructional films. They using filming themselves, and the purpose of this is to be familiarization with the storytelling, because each person has to present their own stories, successful stories in regarding to learning new techniques in like bee farming, for example, or a handicraft or different issues. So it's very important, since it's difficult to transfer these techniques physically. So why not to share it online and let everybody learn the techniques of doing certain things. And the last one is the fourth module, focusing on a certificate of competence and work tool, which is aimed to apply digital learning material and optimize personal daily work with the aid of digital work tools. So these are the 4 modules. The 4 modules have been implemented within 6 months. We focus on, we train them, and then we give them time to submit their stories, not just exercises. So it's very important to them to apply what they learn in their real life. And still it's ongoing, it's not finished yet. Now we are in evaluation sessions, and next week we are going to share the let's say the results with the German Institute, and then we design another training sessions so as to keep following up with the new techniques and new digital tools. So the participants in Gaza and West Bank were about 50 participants, 30 from West Bank and 20 from Gaza, and 70% of them were female, because usually the females sit at homes and they have free time for learning and doing lots of things, and 24% were male. The most challenging were the age variation we have at the training. The majority were 20s, in their 20s, and we have 30s, 30% or 30s, and 40s, and we have problems with 50 autism and above, because they have a little bit difficulties in coping with devices, but it wasn't that problem because they were peer learning. The 20s support them, help them in coping with their devices. So what is the results in general of the training were beyond of our expectations. So all of them master the Zoom and the Google Meet, and they start implementing them in their meetings and in their training. So we start monitoring them, and they were successful in this. So this in the storytelling and the webinar, they are good. And then they start using different applications such as Slido, Canva, and different. Those are the main. Okay, I'm going to make it fast. And they start sharing on the social network their stories, their videos, and also now we are planning for, as I mentioned earlier, on a platform. But before the platform, they start sharing on the social media. So the challenges, as I mentioned, was the age variation. The challenge of the project was the age variation, and also as all the regions, we have the problems with the IT infrastructure and the Wi-Fi. The rural area, the Wi-Fi usually cut off, and we have difficulties. And the recommendation after implementing this project was to follow up with other centers. A manual have been provided to the centers that includes all the activities and trainings to let the trainer follow it during their work. And then some of the participants were from the Ministry of Education. They were influenced by the trainers and would like to implement it to the high school teachers. And also, as I mentioned, we are arranging for new training sessions to gain more participants, to have more participants to get the trained to ensure that all the participants have their digital skills. So I think I'm done now. I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kando, and thank you all three. I think I was particularly interested in this panel because I'm a teacher myself, and I'm sure Pamela too appreciated all the suffering she'd gone through before when she was teaching. It's funny. It made me, but however, what's really common about your presentation, it made me think of a verse by Hölderlin from a poem called Patmos, very famous. Wo aber das Gefahr ist, wächst das Rettende auch. I guess it would be wherever there is danger, this is also where the saving power is, where the saving thing occurs. So you were able, within from very difficult situations, to rise and take the others with you. And I think this really summarizes this panel and this resilience. Of course, this is actually what resilience is all about. So thank you very much.